A very good evening to our viewers. Thank you for joining us tonight on the Evening Review. My name is Toibon Jabela. Tonight we are welcoming back to the platform Saddam Amushelelo. He is a member of the Namibian Economic Freedom Fighters who has made a lot of headlines in recent days. And we called him in today to help us understand because we are dizzy. We can't keep up with Saddam. Thank you for making time. On Wednesday, Wednesday was a day of long knives. We woke up to the news that you and your wife separated.
Yes.
You announced it publicly. That was in the morning. As if that was not dramatic enough, in the afternoon, you joined NEFF.
Yes.
That is the party that you left in July, joined the Landless People's Movement,
Yes.
and then you left them again. Which Michael Amushelelo are we dealing with here? Can the real Michael Amushelelo please stand up?
No, it's good that we are finally here so that we can be able to sort of give proper context
Yes.
as to what is actually happening. Now, I'm no stranger in terms of political activism and things of that sort. Now, I've been on this show various times, and I've stated to you that there comes a certain point and there comes a certain generation where you become a threat to the establishment. Now, some of us, it's no longer myths. We are threats to the establishment. And that is why for the first time in the history of our country, a political organization was deregistered and another one suffered a casualty to make it seem like, we're not only targeting that specific one, but look at the other one also, so that it's sort of a decoy to say, but we do not only deregister Namibian Economic Freedom Fighters, we also deregister the other party. Now, immediately when this deregistration, we got it. We summoned our lawyers, Kadila Amomo, to read for us the Electoral Act and understand to say that, do these guys have the jurisdiction grounds and to deregister us? And Kadila Amomo was very clear and articulative in his letter of demand. He said, unfortunately, you guys cannot deregister a political party. But ECN, because obviously it's one of the state machinery that can be utilized by the powers that be, they still went ahead and deregistered our organization. So we already knew that if a letter of demand that was sent stating all the electoral acts that were not complied with and the fact that ECN was at wrong, we already knew that, here guys, we are going to have an uphill battle if we try and go to court with me still being in the party. So we had to obviously then find out how do we outmaneuver, outthink and outsmart this current corrupt government. So that is why then I was deployed to go into exile, and we needed to make it look like this exile thing is real, because if the enemy sees that, these guys are trying to fool us, then obviously they are going to try and derail the process and all of that. And you can see that when NEFF first went to court, it was first now an issue of jurisdictions, which was not even supposed to be a question of jurisdiction. Then eventually we went and we won our judgment. But still we were careful enough to say that, no, let us not yet go back to the party. Because if we do that, ECN has an option of putting in an appeal. Now, when somebody files an appeal, the other judgment then sort of stands down until the appeal is heard. Now, you know, in this country, once an appeal is filed with the Supreme Court, it takes a while in order for you to get a judgment or even get a quorum for your case to be heard. So that would have been most likely only next year. And by then would have lost out on the deadline of being on the ballot boxes before November 27. So we basically had to outthink, outsmart and outmaneuver and obviously play games of deception in order for us to be able to fool this powerful enemy. Because when you are facing someone who's got cannons, and you don't even have a bulletproof vest, you don't even have a gun, you obviously need to think smart and play hide and seek. That's the only way you'd be able to survive. So we utilize guerrilla tactics, because you cannot fight a conventional warfare with someone who's well-resourced, who's got state machinery at disposal. So we said, let's take a leaf from Chinese philosopher called Sun Tzu, who wrote the book, The Art of War, and we basically utilize the art of war. And the art of war emerged victorious,
Yeah.
and we have been able to win this battle without actually putting up an actual fight. And one of his philosophies is to say the best form of fighting is to not fight.
Yeah.
And that's what we did. We said, colleagues, let's not try and fight.
Yeah.
Let's fool these people. Let's put the heat off of NEFF for now. Let's start fighting in public so that we create this perception that we are enemies and we are no longer on speaking terms. Use any term by any means necessary. You can call me childish. I'll call you this. But let us create that perception that we are not on speaking terms.
Yeah. Is that genuine though? Because I'm thinking of you see the many things were just very convenient, and that's why I when I saw you saying that this week that no, it was all a tactical move. I actually don't believe it.
You don't believe it?
No, because so the party got deregistered. To many people, you abandoned the party in its hour of need, instead of because you're pretty famous in the party, not famous but popular.
Yes.
You've gone to jail for 7 months under the banner of that political party. Yes. So personally, actually, as a follower of politics, I was a bit disappointed because I thought, Michael has really been in this party. He really spread his wings under this party, and it's not the fault that the party got deregistered and now the man leaves the party just like that instead of actually sticking around and see how the court process evolves. But be that as it may, because what I find not truthful in your version is that when you went to LPM, you waited there until their parliamentary list was out. Only when you emerged at number 31st, which actually happened this week also, did you decide, nah, I have to leave?
No, so let me give you the context and proper context. Now, the finalization of ECN process only got finalized, I think, Wednesday or in fact yesterday. That's when everything was finalized. Now, we didn't want to take any chances. We wanted to make sure that our parliamentary list is through, our presidential candidate is properly registered, in order for us to make this sudden move. So it's not to say this move was all of a sudden, things of that sort. Now, for those who think that I abandoned the party in its hour of need, now you must be able to understand, I'm the target. Now, had I remained in the party would have never been re-registered. So I had to be the sort of the sacrificial lamb to say, let me leave, because if the party leaders had left or anything of the sort, then, and I'm still there, people will still say, this is the guy that we are trying to get rid of. This is the guy that we do not need in our systems. So this guy, by any means necessary, let's get rid of them. So we then caucus with the leadership of the party and say, colleagues, we need to make tough decisions, unfortunately, but they need to be made now in order for us to be able to be on the ballot box by November 27, because time was running out. And unfortunately, if we are going to sort of try and take on this thing head on with me still at the party, we would have not succeeded. We would have by now still being most probably filing urgent applications to try and have the election stopped and things of that sort. But the process would have still gone ahead because there is enough quorum in terms of the political parties that are there for elections to go ahead. And unfortunately, this should have been a red flag for many other political parties in order for them to basically stand up and say, but wait, an injustice here is an injustice or is a threat to injustice everywhere. So you can clearly see that most of the political formations were comfortable with ECN dilly-dallying with our democracy, because ECN is actually a threat to our democracy, because if they can be controlled and say, I do not like the party that Toevo belongs to, I want it deregistered, or I do not want it to take part in elections, then that should start raising serious red flags. And in fact, the whole commission by now should have been fired, because those people are untrustworthy. They obviously are not credible, given the fact that a competent court has actually ruled against them and say, your decision was absolutely wrong. And this is what we were saying from the very beginning. I mean, it's not to say I just packed my bags and left when ECN immediately. We stood and said, let's try what is it that we can do for now. But eventually when we realize that these ideas that we're trying to push forward are not going to work, let's utilize a different plan. And sadly, you must be able to always think fast. You must be able to always think strategically. And this is what we are utilizing. And obviously, as a journalist yourself, you have every right to be skeptical of the narrative that we're giving you now. But what matters is that we are now on the ballot box and will be able to contest as well for the elections.
Yeah.
And also to say that now that, and I think this needs to be addressed now publicly,
yes.
To say that, but now I ended up on LPM at number 31.
Yes.
If I'm to ask you now, on which number am I at NEFF?
Yeah, no.
No. I think that question becomes relevant.
It's a relevant question.
Because if I was opportunist, then
yes.
By any means necessary, I should have come back home earlier in order for me to come and occupy maybe a top 10 position. But because for me, the interest is to hold those in power accountable. Some of us will continue to be ground soldiers. Some of us will continue to be socialists. And that is why when I went to LPM, I was also not comfortable with the fact that they wanted to turn me from a social activist into a politician. Politicians are people who lie. Politicians are people who only think of elections. As a leader, I'm someone who thinks of the next generation. And unfortunately, I'm not going to compromise on that principle of being a leader as opposed to becoming a politician. And that's why some of us will never become politicians, because we've got principles and we've got morals.
What if Mr. Swartboy had put you at number 5 of LPM?
Even if I was put at number 5?
You would be an LPM candidate today.
I would still have said, I'm going to recuse myself. And let me perhaps explain it to you. So LPM had a process whereby they were selective of their candidates. And that's a process that I could have also taken part in if I genuinely wanted to go to parliament. Because I would have literally most probably come number 1 in terms of those elections. But I chose not to because I knew exactly what is it that I was doing. So it is just perhaps luck or a token of appreciation that I was added onto the list, but I never wanted to be on the list.
When you ask me the question of where are you on the NEFF yes. List, I don't know where the gazetting process stands at the moment with political parties, because someone on Twitter last night genuinely asked whether you were on the list of NEFF, and I said to them that no, you are not on the original one, but since that list has not been gazetted yet, parties still have the right to amend their list as they wish. So we don't know. Maybe you will still be on that list.
No, unfortunately, I'm not going to be on that list.
You're not going to be on that list?
Yes. That's a principled decision that I've taken to say that I'm not going to parliament. I do not want to be in parliament. So I have no qualms with that. I mean, in fact, you know, and we must be honest. Some of us are more influential than parliamentarians who are currently sitting in parliament. Some of us have a much more powerful voice than those who have actually been elected to be the voice of the voiceless. So I'll continue to be that leader without any position, without any title, without any office, and will still continue to advocate for social justice and issues affecting our people.
Exciting news, Namibia. PSTBet has launched its brand new website, www.pstbet.na. To celebrate, PSTBet is offering a 100% bonus on all first deposits when you open your pstbet.na account. That's not all. Bet for as low as $1 Namibian, enjoy the best odds, live cash outs, and you can have 50 events on one ticket. With a new user-friendly interface, max bets up to $10,000 Namibian. Why watch when you can play at pstbet.na? Experience the future of betting. Bet responsibly, not for persons under the age of 18. Visit our Facebook page, PSTBet. You play, we pay.
You see, earlier I spoke about this series of coincidences, yes. That one thing happens and then another follows just so conveniently. In your case, it was, of course, you ranked number 31st on the LPM list, which is unrealistic for a party that has 4 seats right now. And in my wild imagination, once you were at number 31st, Mr. Epaphras Mukilongo of NEFF must have seen, oh, okay, the man is now at number 31st. There's absolutely no way that he would do, there's no hope for him there. Let me rather call him around what he offered you, and somehow, just as you ended 31st, the next day or so, you were back at NEFF. That cannot just be coincident.
No, so obviously certain things would seem like it's not a coincidence. But like we said, we had a strategy, we had a plan, we have executed it well. I'm glad that it worked out perfectly. I think some of us would most probably one day be studied by scholars of politics in order to be able to obviously make this current generation of so-called political commentators have a better understanding of how sophisticated some of us are in terms of dealing with tactics of fighting a powerful regime. So we've got no qualms with obviously what people are going to think or anything of the sort. Unfortunately, we went to go seek political asylum. We make we're not even ashamed of that, because unfortunately the terms required us to seek political asylum. The terms required us to seek political refuge. The terms required for us to go into exile. We went into exile, and now that we have emerged victorious, everyone comes back home, and I'm certainly happy to be back at home.
What if was it ever an option for you to simply quit NEFF and just say, look, politics is not for me, or no, the party has been deregistered and therefore there's no hope for me anymore, because the vehicle that I wanted to use to reach the goals that we've set ourselves for has been killed, and therefore I am quitting politics altogether, or party politics altogether. That would have still been convenient if you wanted to fool the authorities. That could have still worked. But to go and hide in another party.
But here's the thing, that would have been convenient, but that would have not fooled the establishment, because the establishment then would have taken longer, because they now know to say that this guy has not gone anywhere. He's basically a free agent, waiting and hoping that his party becomes re-registered. Now, the best way is to basically, if you honestly want to fool someone, you have to play the fool. And we had to play the fools by saying, let us go seek political refuge in another political party.
So if you are using that logic,
yes.
What if LPM had been deregistered because of your presence there?
If they had been deregistered, then that shows you the trend that I am a political threat, and that is why they continue to deregister us. So obviously, if they had done that, I would have been the happiest man alive today, because it would have proven a point. But they obviously understood to say that we can't do it for a second time, because then it becomes too obvious for them. Because remember, if you do something deliberately, then it is convenient for you to say, oh, I did not know. But if you do it again for the second time, then people are obviously going to say, but Chief, you knew exactly what is it that you're doing. So you can no longer hide under the pretext of, I did not know what it is that I was trying to do.
Let's talk about your socio-economic conditions right now. You have your assets captured by the state,
Yes.
and the flashy Michael no longer exists. So even if social justice was your genuine intention when you do what you do, you must also eat. And one of the opportunities to eat would have been to go to Parliament. You can't tell me that you really do not want to go to Parliament.
You see, Toivo, some of us, if you ask yourself, when was my assets seized? It was in 2019. We are now in 2024. That's 5 years later.
Yeah.
Now, if I was to, obviously I don't have the flashy cars anymore, which is not an issue for me, because I understood already when we got into this fight that these things might be taken at any given point. But however, I'm not that politically hungry for a position of parliamentary or whatever in order for me to sort of have an income or anything of the sort. The same way that I've been surviving for the past 5 years is the same way I'll survive for the next 5 years without being in parliament. So some of us, luckily, we are gifted with minds. We utilize those minds. We don't sleep on them. We're not used to handouts and things of that sort. So I'm still very young. I'm still very productive. I still have ways of feeding myself and feeding my family. So I do not need to be in parliament in order for me to be able to feed myself. So that already gives you the difference between wannabes and those who are real. Because the wannabes, yes, they are more than happy that they are now going to get an opportunity to eat. But it's not like that they're going to make a difference there. It's not like they're going to make any impact. They are going there for the titles of being called honorable. They are going there for the perks. They are going there for the S&Ts. They are going there so that they can obviously be in this committee and that committee, to travel around from one country to another. So for them, it's an opportunity to obviously see the world. Some of us, we have seen the world on our own accord, and we'll still go see the world on our own accord. So I do not need to be a member of parliament in order for me to genuinely be able to serve our people. And I think we should be able to start understanding and analyzing who are true, genuine leaders. Because the problem in this country is that we vote for hyenas, foxes, and snakes, and then when these people turn around and bite us, we want to cry and say, why did you bite us? But it is us who voted those people. So we must be able to distinguish between politicians and leaders.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you. Look, I think you are playing public relations. I really think that that tactical suggestion is neither here nor there. I think that you were impatient, and I wonder whether you've learned the lesson that patience is also a very important aspect of politics. That if you had stayed with your party during its hour of need again, that this long list of 96 people where Amushelelo features nowhere wouldn't have been the same had you stayed. You would have been number 3 for me, thinking. So you were not patient. Obviously, LPM was not gonna, after joining in July, and I know that you also fought under their colors. I've seen you confronting employers and whatnot under their colors. But there was no way that you're going to be in the top 5 just like that. Other people are going to say, but you know, we've been here in this orange party for so long. This guy came in July, he's already there. So I can also understand the predicament in which Mr. Swartwe found himself. So do you wish you were patient a little bit?
No, there's a difference between being patient and being stupid. If you are sitting on a railway track and you see a train coming, that's not a matter of you trying to be patient. You move out of the way in order for that train to pass. Now, this train called the corrupt ruling party was aiming all its machinery on us. Yeah. Now, if we had sat idle, like you were saying, for us to be patient and things of that sort, I've been through this system and I know how the system works. You know, you for one would be able to understand it even better. Last year when I was arrested, on the 21st of March, you would know that 3 of us were arrested. My other 2 co-accused received bail. Me, I launched several applications, first in the magistrate, then in the High Court. All of them got turned down. And then only at the trial was I found not guilty. Now, obviously, us having this foreknowledge of how the judiciary system works, we are not going to sit around and apparently be patient in the party, knowing very well that I'm the one that the government wants to stop and I'm the reason why that party got deregistered. I mean, if you follow the sequence, earlier this year when we had rewarded Moses Jene, the likes of Veiko Nekundi vehemently came out and saying that NEFF must be deregistered. And not long from that were we truly deregistered. So you can clearly see that we just needed, or they needed some sort of a reason in order for them to deregister us. And that is why they obviously had to use the thing that our finances were not correct, we did not submit our things on time. They had to sort of legitimize this deregistration process knowing very well that it was an illegitimate process. So it was not a matter of us being patient. It was a matter of us applying our mind, using it wisely in order for us to be able to celebrate this outcome that we now have. So this is not about convenience. This is not about anything of that sort. It's about being tactical. And unfortunately, because now that we have emerged victorious, everyone is going to say, but no, it's because of this and because of that. But no, it was through careful consideration, through careful planning, and through careful execution. I think if government had people such as us, I think we would not be in a state where we are currently are, because government has brilliant plans, but it's the execution in which they fail. So perhaps they should hire some of us who are excellent executors, and we've clearly demonstrated that at execution, we are the best.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you are painting your party as if it's some sort of saint. Your finances are a mess. You are actually lucky that that process was reversed, because you truly have messed up your audits. There's nothing that came out of that. And that's rewarding of a guy who slept a swabber guy. That was also unnecessary.
No,
we shouldn't have politics like that.
No. That's not to say politics like that. You know very well why we rewarded that particular guy. That guy, if it is anything, he was the victim. He was the one being pushed around. He said, please get out of my space, leave me alone. So if someone is raped, so the rapist must now be celebrated instead of the victim. Moses Jene here was the victim. He's the victim of 34 years of hunger. He's a victim of 34 years of being landless, 34 years of being jobless. So that was a frustrated Namibian who was just airing out his issues and saying, you guys are liars. You are lying to us. I've been living in this mixed location and you have been lying to us all this time. So Moses Jene is a victim. And in terms of our finances, we had submitted everything. We were complying with them. They were the ones who had even given us a deadline to say, come 30th of June, make sure everything is submitted, make sure your financials are published. And we did all of that. But despite doing all of that, they were still adamant that they are going to deregister us. So I think it is very wrong in this society that the victims become now painted as the villains, and the villains are now the victims. So we are the victims here. We were the ones who got deregistered, and we needed to find a way to outmaneuver, outsmart, outthink all these people. And you yourselves, perhaps in the media, were also fooled. And I must apologize to you guys now that we put you on this path of ours. But you have every right to be angry with us, and we fully understand that. So perhaps we should get more investigative journalists, and journalists must become like the good old days where you are able to track down a story and bring the actual thing, and not this thing where you are now just here saying and trying to play good old season for journalism. I think facts must be presented, and you know very well in journalism, it's more about facts and not theories and all of this.
Yeah, you're teaching me journalism now.
Yes.
The final question, very briefly.
Yes.
On Wednesday, like I said, you put your marriage on the table, and I'm asking you the last question. Is it true that you're separated with your wife? Because you guys also joke around a lot. Is it true, or you guys are just messing around again? Because the point is that it's a private matter, but I think we've seen your marriage has been pretty public, and we know that your wife stood by you all along in your very serious situations.
Yes.
And she's been patient with your antics. So is she fed up finally and said, no, enough now, Michael?
No, I think my private life is going to remain private. I will not discuss any matters relating to my private affairs here in public. So perhaps if we want me and you to sit down for coffee, we are both married men, so I'm sure we can be able to discuss how we navigate our difficult lives of marriages, because obviously relationships are never easy. So I think that one, to end it off on a good note, is to say that that's now for the public to wonder whether it's true or not true.
I respect that.
Yes.
Thank you, Michael, for coming.
It's always a pleasure.
Sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's Michael Amushelelo. He's explaining a lot of things that has happened in his political and private life this week, and I hope you now understand the context. Thank you for watching.